Instructions in hieroglyphs, Mrs. Ruby 16. I got glue on my fingers, rage in my heart. This copy kit model's falling apart. Left wing's backwards, right one's gone. Tail's upside down, landing gears all wrong. I shake the box like it's gonna confess. Come on, glue on my fingers, and a big old mess. Diesel's curling like weak old toast. Pilot's helmet looks like a ghost. Drop-in test, too late for that. Now the fuselage leans like a tipsy cat. I got glue on my fingers, rage in my heart. This crappy kid model's falling apart. Pride won't spin, nose won't stay. I swear this thing flew back in the day. I sin, I curse, I fake progress. Glue on my fingers, and a big old mess. Step 12 says attach the part. Which part is part? I ain't that smart. Diagram looks like modern art. I'm losing my cool, I'm losing my. Three spare wheels, but I need just two. Got 7 clear canopies, none of them glue. I got glue on my fingers, rage in my soul. This tiny trash tornado's out of control. Box art shows a beauty, sleek and clean. Mine looks like it fell from 20,000 feet. I'll call it brother, call it battle stress. Glue on my fingers, and I guess it's finished at best. Oh yeah. He said, so anyway, the thing is that he's 3 stories deep in high school band. You ask him how his weekend went, he's explaining ancient Roman ceiling fans. One sip of coffee, suddenly we're ranking every kind of cheese. We just wanted movie times, now we're somewhere in the 90s on TV. Captain Tangent, off again, started with the weather, now we're talking about space pens. Captain Tangent, spin that thread. We were on the freeway, now we're in his cousin's shed. He goes left, he goes right. He forgets what started this ride. Captain Tangent, that's our friend. Circle to the middle, never finds the end. You say, can you pass the song? He's live song, that's wild. Cause I once knew a guy named Hal. Next thing, it's a road trip tale. Flat tire, first crush, roadside motel. He's drawing diagrams on a napkin just to prove a tiny point. By the time he finally lands, we forgot why we even joined. Captain Tangent, off again. Started with a question, now we're rating every band's best spin. Captain Tangent, spin that thread. We were in the kitchen, now we're somewhere by a Oh, rap-a-dum, rap-a-dum-ba-dum, rap-a-dum, rap-a-dum-ba-dum, rap-a-dum, rap-a-dum-ba-dum-ba-dum, boom, boom, boom. Glue on my fingers, paint on my shirt. I'm so hungry that my tummy hurts. But now it's time for me to go. It's time for hot dogs and my favorite show. Hot dogs and Murderbot, my life's on a roll. Stopping my hobby for a sausage-shaped goal. Watching and eating with every scene. This quirky routine is my daily cuisine. Painting the wings, they'll have to wait. The show is beginning and I can't be late. With paradise gracing my hot dog bun. Who knew robots and hot dogs were so much fun? Hot dogs and Murderbot, my life's on a roll. Stopping my hobby for a sausage-shaped goal. Watching and eating with every scene. This quirky routine is my daily cuisine. It's not about perfection, it's about a good meal. My life is so good, I can't believe it's real. Planes will still fly and glue will still dry. But Murderbot and hot dogs keep my spirit sky high. So here I am, remote in one hand, hot dog in the other, it's my master plan. Model airplanes are fun for sure, but Murderbots and hot dogs, who could ask for more? He's got glue on his hands and a spark in his brain. Tiny cars, tiny jets, tiny military planes. From tanks to trains to rockets that soar, he built it up and then built some more. It's Max's motos, hints and hobby dreams. Max's motos, he'll been big in miniature scenes. Woo! instructions in hieroglyphs. Mrs. Ruby 16. I got glue on my fingers, rage in my heart. This crappy kid model's falling apart. Left wing's backwards, right one's gone. Tail's upside down, landing gears all wrong. I shake the box like it's gonna confess. Come on, glue on my fingers, and a big old mess. Diesel's curling like wheat gold toast. Pilot's helmet looks like a ghost. Traffic test, too late for that. Now the fuselage leans like a tipsy cat. I got glue on my fingers, rage in my heart. This crappy kid model's falling apart. Pride won't spin, nose won't stay. I swear this thing flew back in the day. I sand, I curse, I fake progress. Glue on my fingers, and a big old mess. Step 12 says attach the part. Which part is part? I ain't that smart. Diagram looks like modern art. I'm losing my cool, I'm losing my. Three spare wheels, but I need just two. Got 7 clear canopies, none of them glue. I got glue on my fingers, rage in my soul. This tiny trash tornado's out of control. Box art shows a beauty, sleek and clean. Mine looks like it fell from 20,000 feet. I'll call it brother, call it battle stress. Glue on my fingers, and I guess it's finished at best. Oh yeah. He said, so anyway, the thing is that he's 3 stories deep in high school band. You ask him how his weekend went, he's explaining ancient Roman ceiling fans. One sip of coffee, suddenly we're ranking every kind of cheese. We just wanted movie times, now we're somewhere in the 90s on TV. Captain Tangent, off again, started with the weather, now we're talking about space pens. Captain Tangent, spin that thread. We were on the freeway, now we're in his cousin's shed. He goes left, he goes right. He forgets what started this ride. Captain Tangent, that's our friend. Circle to the middle, never finds the end. You say, can you pass the song? He's like, song, that's wild. Cause I once knew a guy named Hal. Next thing, it's a road trip tale. Flat tire, first crush, roadside motel. He's drawing diagrams on a napkin just to prove a tiny point. By the time he finally lands, we forgot why we even joined. Captain Tangent, off again. Started with a question, now we're rating every band's best spin. Captain Tangent, spin that thread. We were in the kitchen, now we're somewhere by a Oh, rap-a-dum-ba-rap-a-dum-ba-dum, rap-a-dum-ba-rap-a-dum-ba-dum, rap-a-dum-ba-rap-a-dum-ba-dum. Boom, boom, boom. Glue on my fingers, paint on my shirt. I'm so hungry that my tummy hurts. But now it's time for me to go. It's time for hot dogs and my favorite show. Hot dogs and Murderbot, my life's on a roll. Stopping my hobby for a sausage-shaped goal. Watching and eating with every scene. This quirky routine is my daily cuisine. Painting the wings, they'll have to wait. The show is beginning and I can't be late. With paradise gracing my hot dog bun. Who knew robots and hot dogs were so much fun? Hot dogs and Murderbot, my life's on a roll. Stopping my hobby for a sausage-shaped goal. Watching and eating with every scene. This quirky routine is my daily cuisine. It's not about perfection, it's about a good meal. My life is so good, I can't believe it's real. Planes will still fly and glue will still dry. But Murderbot and hot dogs keep my spirit sky high. So here I am, remote in one hand, hot dog in the other, it's my master plan. Model airplanes are fun for sure, but Murderbots and hot dogs, who could ask for more? He's got glue on his hands and a spark in his brain. Tiny cars, tiny jets, tiny military planes. From tanks to trains to rockets that soar, he built it up and then built some more. It's Max's motto, kids and hobby dreams. Max's motto, he'll be big in miniature scenes. Woo! Mark said easy, skill level 2. Now my whole weekend belongs to you. Tiny plastic cockpit, some crooked little wing, instructions in hieroglyphs, Mrs. Ruby 16. I got glue on my fingers, rage in my heart. This crappy kit model's falling apart. Left wing's backwards, right one's gone. Tails upside down, landing gears all wrong. I shake the box like it's gonna confess. Come on, glue on my fingers in a big old mess. Diesel's curling like weak old toast. Pilot's helmet looks like a ghost. Drop-in test, too late for that. Now the fuselage leans like a tipsy cat. I got glue on my fingers, rage in my heart. This crappy kid model's falling apart. Prop won't spin, nose won't stay. I swear this thing flew back in the day. I sand, I curse, I fake progress. Glue on my fingers and a big old mess. Step 12 says attach the part. Which part is part? I ain't that smart. Diagram looks like modern art. I'm losing my cool. I'm losing my 3 spare wheels, but I need just 2. Got 7 clear canopies, none of them glow. I got glue on my fingers, rage in my soul. This tiny trash tornado's out of control. Box art shows a beauty, sleek and clean. Mine looks like it fell from 20,000 feet. I'll call it brother, call it battle stress. Glue on my fingers, and I guess it's finished at best. Oh yeah. He said, so anyway, the thing is that he's 3 stories deep in high school band. You ask him how his weekend went, he's explaining ancient Roman ceiling fans. One sip of coffee, suddenly we're ranking every kind of cheese. We just wanted movie times, now we're somewhere in the 90s on TV. Captain Tangent, off again, started with the weather, now we're talking about space pen.
phones are hot.
Keep going, Captain's engine, off again. Started with you, okay, now we're laughing about old trends. Captain's engine, spin that thread. We were feeling heavy.
Plane.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Okay, we are live, and hello, Glue Troopers. Right, and my camera immediately goes, there we go, back in focus, out of focus, back in focus, out of focus. I got enough light here. I don't know why it insists on doing that. Unless it's I'm never, at my age, I'm never sure if it's my eyesight or the camera. Okay, guys, real quick, let's get a sound check. Can you guys hear us okay? I'm showing we are transmitting 5x5. Wait till we hear back from everybody or somebody. And alrighty, so lots of cool stuff to talk about tonight. And okay, audio is 5x5 and we're operational. First off, a couple of quick housekeeping chores. One, I want to apologize to at least 3 people, I think including Steve Mercer and 2 more that I apparently misfiled their photos when they sent me pictures, so I will be putting their stuff in Viewers Build 73. Please resend if I didn't acknowledge the resend. I don't know exactly what happened, but I told them that the real reason the wall came down in the Soviet Union was I was parachuted in by the CIA to take over central administration, and within a week they'd lost 2 divisions and an entire satellite country. So my ability to misplace things. I am the founding father of Lost Partistan. And if you guys have never heard of Lost Partistan, that is, here, I've got a picture of it right here. This is Lost Partistan. And of course you can see it's strategically located right by Russia. And this is where all lost parts go, and I'm pretty sure Flight 19 may be there also. But I am the President, Emperor, High Potentate, and King of Lost Partistan. I set a land speed record, Steve. I managed to set something down and reach for it 3 seconds later and couldn't find it. So there's something out in the shed I'm still looking for. So,
Well, there's parts that we've been looking for years that fell on the floor and under something and into something, and we have no idea where they are.
James says better than Lost Wages, Stan. Yeah.
You get that right.
Well, yeah, we've all been there. So anyway, so you know what? I think the first thing I'll kick off with real quick. I was talking with Fran about this, and I'm going to be seeing Fran and Trey on Wednesday, and that he had suggested this. I was talking about the spinny props and cutting them, and I had mentioned this display cutter. And you said, kind of mirrored what he said, that he's got one, and everybody says these things are great for cutting circles, and I would just use it for cutting spinny props. But what I've been, well, I'll tell you in a second, what I've been doing, and what basically I've been making circles and handing, here, and handing my wife, here, you cut that out, because she can do all that cool stuff like draw a straight line and cut a perfect circle. But these things are around $25, and me being a cheapskate former pilot, I'm always like, oh, $28. Then you go through 10 pieces of plastic and you destroy them all, and you realize that probably destroyed $28 worth of styrene. Okay, go buy the good cutter. So I think this is going to be the next thing that my next acquisition, and I'll see if they got one at the Michaels or Hobby Lobby, and if not, then I'll probably just get one online. But
getting in to be a display dealer.
Yeah. Now, Fran, while I got you, I put the boxes, the 2 kits I'm giving you aside, and I put those decals, the stars and bars you asked for, various scales, plenty of them. Obviously, as you mentioned, I'd put the restorer fluid on them because some of them are pretty old, some of them aren't. But so I have plenty of stars and bars. I could not find any yellow U.S. Army. I did find some yellow numbers, so I threw those in there if in case they're of any use. But one of the hardest things to find are U.S. Army decals in white or in yellow. I mean, there's certain kits that come with them, but I've learned those are actually kind of hard to track down. And when I was looking, I had that little model of the L-17 Navion. I didn't realize it's a Navy Navion, not an Army one, but I went digging through it. It's a balloon kit just to, I probably should have brought that in to show everybody. It's a little 1/72nd. I mean, the airplane's going to be this big when you're done with it, right? I mean, the fuselage is about that long. It's a little 1/72nd scale Navion, and it has an entire sheet of photo etch for the cockpit. You know how much fun it's going to be to deal with photo etch seat belts at 1/72nd scale? And it's got a clear, it comes with two canopies, a solid piece and one that's where you can slide it back. And if I'm going to put that much work into it, I'm going to open the canopy. But they're just clear bubbles. You got to mask and paint them. Like this little Valone kit is an advanced level kit. The small size and all the stuff you have to do, like, whoa, I got my work cut out for me whenever I get around to it. You know me, you open the box, it means you got to build it. So anyway, that's tangent number one, but at least I stayed on models. But how can I say, maxismodels at yahoo.com. Just that's my regular email. Maxismodels, one word, all lowercase, at Yahoo. And make sure you hear back from me also, because I try to acknowledge everybody when I get their pictures. And if you can send them a zip file, or I can download the whole thing. It's a little easier, but not a problem. But the thing is my wife gave me this for doing the circles for propellers, so I could just draw them and hand them to her to cut out, because she can do all that amazing stuff, like I say, like draw a straight line and cut a perfect circle. Me, I'm like, you let me go with scissors, I got to make sure I got my fingertips, when we're done. But the York that I'm working on, we're in crappy kit month. We're doing the crappy kit build. Crappy kit build is due at the end of this month. If you guys need more time, let me know. But I figure if it's a crappy kit, it's probably not going to be too hard to build. But folks, if you need more time, please let me know. And I figure everybody's what crap are you picking? Have you picked a crappy kit?
No, not yet. Although I do have a.
What's your candidate?
Stash.
What's your candidate?
I haven't drilled it down that far, but I'm sure it'll be something NPC.
And the subject matter doesn't matter. All that matters, it's like your least favorite crap kit. With me, as you guys know, it's the Mach 2 Avro York. And man, as I said in the video the other night, I absolutely have probably the gold medalist for crappy kits. It is, nothing on that airplane has been easy. In fact, let's just go ahead and talk about a few things while we got it here. Let's see, which one do I want to start? Where to begin? Okay. This first photograph is of the tail area, which just every single part was cutting, sanding, clipping, grinding, enlarging the hole or making the part that goes in smaller. I mean, not one part of this model just drops into place. Not even the control yokes. In fact, actually, they were probably the most difficult. It's got the three-pronged tail. Now, real quick, for those who don't know, the Avro York was basically, the British knew as World War II was, once it was pretty obvious, who the winners were going to be. They knew they needed an airliner, they were going to need an airliner. So they basically took the Lancaster bomber and took the wings, engines, undercarriage, tail, all that stuff, and put this big boxy fuselage under it to make an interim airliner out of it. Now, when they did this, it was a quick and dirty. They knew this was going to be a short, an interim airplane. And for the most part, I guess it worked, They actually, I believe, had them during the war, so there aren't a lot of kits of them, but this was a gift from a glue trooper. I had only built one Mach 2 kit before, and I knew how tough that they could be, so I figured it was a good one to start with. And even the cockpit didn't go together without problems. and enough, and there was so much sanding and grinding that after a while, once I got something that even resembled a smooth surface on top and bottom, it's like, that's enough, you know. And I'm using electric sanders and everything else, but you just can't get the seams to line up. And when you think you've got it, the thing just sort of deforms a little bit. But the York, the center, they did have to add a center tailpiece to stabilize it, changing the shape of the fuselage and everything. So, of course, the later Lancasters didn't have that. I think the Lancaster prototype might have, but anyway. And I'm really kind of looking forward to it. Well, I said I was going to make spinny props for this, and then I realized I didn't have enough flat sheet clear plastic to do it. Also, quite frankly, it was just a bit of a nightmare. So I went ahead and gluing the props back together. So I probably am going to put them on, provided I don't break them trying to install them. Absolutely nothing is taken for granted on a Mach 2 kit. It's a weird plastic too. And if you guys have been following the videos, you've seen my trials and tribulations with it thus far. I mean, it's almost comical. That aside, though, I have a suspicion when I'm done, it might be a halfway decent looking airplane from 6 or 7 or 25 feet away. But the engines mounts, I'm still grinding on them to get them just to go onto the wing. And there's just, the thing just has intermittent blobs of plastic. I mean, literally. Oh, I stand corrected. 2 pieces did fit without any argument. That was the back of the cockpit and the front wall of the cockpit. They actually went on without any argument. But then when I put the airplane together, they were too wide and wouldn't let this sit. One thing I'm doing, though, instead of putting all those annoying little windows in there one by one, is I'm using the canopy glue just to make windows for the airplane instead of... you know, and when they dry, as you can tell, some of them are already starting to dry clear, but I'm not that worried about it. This is not a kit I'm going to get upset about. So that's my crappy kit, but it's, you have to remove so much material, wash everything. You've got to do everything you can imagine with this. If you've ever built a plastic cart kit or a VEB plastic cart, it's about on par with that, but I think VEB actually has a better styrene. This stuff's almost like a clay. I don't know exactly how to describe it. But it does sand pretty easily, though. I'll give it that. But the one VEB plastic cart kit I built, which was actually the East German company that did them, was the Vostok capsule. And it wound up getting crushed in the great shelf collapse of 22. So I gave that to Fran in a box in pieces. And by God, if he didn't put it all back together to make it look great. Along with some other stuff I gave him, including the Felix, though. Yeah, the Lancastrian, I think, was more really intended as a bomber. But, you know, the Lancaster was a great airplane. They tried to milk that airframe as long as they could, and they really did. But it came along, and like they all knew they were interim airplanes, like the Lincoln Bomber, because they were the Lancastrian had too small a fuselage, and that's literally, they just took a Lancaster bomber and pretty much removed all the military hardware, sealed up the nose, and called it an airliner. I mean, that was, you know, kind of laughable, but you know, you use what you got. You're tooled up to make the things. And you know it's only going to last a few years before it gets replaced. But, and still, you know, worthwhile footnotes in aviation history. But then again, to the British's credit, you know, they were the first ones out with the jet airliners. Although the Canadians almost beat them with that Avro liner. Innovative days. But low pressure... Yes, low pressure lead to the high pressure styrene tube. You talk about that, because I remember, yeah, somebody mentioned there was a low pressure injection.
If it's a low pressure injection, the plastic doesn't reach all parts of the mold at the same time because it's not under high pressure where it really slams it in. So you get a lot of flash, and sometimes you get malformed parts. and you got to leave the mold in there longer because it takes a longer time to get the shot. It's just, it's a waste of time. You know, you put it in, you put it under pressure, you get a lot of pressure, you get it in, you make the part, boom, it pops out. With low pressure, just it's too iffy.
Well, I don't think Mach 2 was ever a big operation. I think it was just a few guys, and they were never a mainstream. But they did make stuff that very few other people did. You know, I think they were careful about researching the market. Now here's a trick.
Their calling card.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, they were always did the stuff that everybody wanted, but nobody did.
Because I think companies like Monogram and Heller and Airfix knew that, yeah, there are people who want it, but not enough.
Right.
The market, yeah. They literally shot, they were like a third level airline, you know, you shoot for Mark City pairs nobody's interested in.
I mean, they made a lot of X planes, but once you got past the X1 and the X15, there really wasn't a lot of demand for the X plane kits.
It's true. That's that. They
know,
weren't, yeah. How many people, have got to have that X4?
No.
Here's there's a question posed to you, Steve. Why use
because it could be the kind of machines they have too.
I imagine it's a cheaper setup.
It's a way cheaper setup, you know.
I looked at when I had the insane notion of starting a kit model company, and of course I just assumed, well, the first thing you do is you buy yourself an injection molding machine, and I found a used one for like 40 grand. And I was like, and I realized I had no idea how to do anything. And I realized how, you know, as you're aware, running an injection molding machine, running the computers on everything else, and getting all the pressures and everything, that's actually requires a fair amount of experience and knowledge.
It's an art.
Yeah, you don't just buy one and get started.
No, it's an art. It really is. I mean, you just don't pop the mold in and push a button and it runs.
No.
And you have to watch them constantly. Now, when you get them set up, you can run them for hours, you know, and pop out tons of kits. But you have to have it set up right, and that takes a fair amount of skill because every mold is a little different.
I was talking with Nick Argento about that a year or so ago, and gosh, it has been 2 years, isn't it? Wow, it's been longer than I thought. Anyway, he has a lot of the old Strombecker molds, and he's kind of like some of the guys, and imagine Rick and Peter this way. They can look at a kit model of certain vintage and tell you which mold it came out of because the patterns are slightly different. You know, the real hardcore Godzilla fans. Time is 17 minutes before I mention Godzilla. Because Aurora had the two molds. And apparently the real hardcore collectors can look at a vintage Godzilla kit and tell you which one of the two molds it came out of.
Yeah, I mean, molds have a footprint.
Yes.
You know, and there's certain machines that can't run certain molds without adapters.
That was one of Johan's problems.
You know, and that's one of Nick's problems is that he's got molds that were made in the 50s, and the machines of today
can't run
they're
them.
different hookups. You know, and you need to adapt them.
Well, that's what he was talking about. He said a lot of these old molds, like from Strombecker, he has to set them up personally. Even though he's got good guys working for him, the molds are so temperamental that he has to go in because he's dealt with them so often. He knows all the little quirks about each mold, and he's got the old machines that can do it because, I mean, they were paid for decades ago. But he grew up in the injection molding business. But he talked about
models are like a side business to him.
Yeah. He actually is a commercial injection molder, and we're just lucky he happens to like models, and he's into it because, there are a lot of HOA. I don't have an HOA neighborhood. That was one of the conditions I told my wife. We will not buy a house in an HOA neighborhood. If I want to park a half track in the driveway and run an injection molding machine in the shed, by golly, I'm going to. And I keep threatening to go up and visit with Nick, but he's a busy guy, and I really want to go tour the factory and probably buy some kits from him. I don't know how often he even runs them because he's got so much business. But and I'm not sure, but I believe, and I'm inferring a lot here that when we had the pandemic, that he was making all kinds of stuff for medical companies, so he had no time for anything else. In fact, most of the injection molding companies are in that situation.
Sluggo's got a question. Are certain plastics and styrenes better than others?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
There's different qualities of plastic. They have different properties. Um, yeah, the kind of plastic that you put through the machine and how it comes out determines what you're using. I mean, I'll give a perfect example, which Max realizes. When we were at the Nationals, Ken, who had a 79 Trans Am, saw this kit by MPC of a 79 Trans Am, and he said, "Boy, I'd really like that, but I really don't think I could build it." I said, "Well, buy it. I'll build it for you." So he bought it. He gave it to me, and I built it for him. Whatever the plastic was they used on this kit was absolutely horrendous. I mean, it had a weird sheen to the plastic. Trying to get paint to stick to it, even with primer, was next to impossible.
Yeah,
And we
I
went to,
saw it after
yeah,
when I was at Ken's house. Now, first off, you did great work, but I could
yeah,
almost
but
see through the plastic. I mean, I was like,
I mean, it
the
was
fits were
just horrible.
horrible. I mean, not your
It was,
work,
yeah,
the
no, no,
kit.
no. It was horrific, and it was all because of the plastic they used.
And some plastics, I think, even have a little bit of shrinkage if they're cheap enough. They'll contract a little bit over time. Um, some get brittle.
Well, I mean, if you go back to the early Revell kits, when they came out with the S kits, was when they went to styrene. I mean, there's a big difference in the quality and the fit and
Sure.
finish of the kits when they went to
Or the old
styrene.
acetate and stuff, the
Yeah.
Johann Smile or the models with bow over time. What companies have the highest quality? Well, companies like Tammy have always,
Yep, to me, you
and
know,
in fact, I would say the Japanese and the German companies tend to have the highest quality just for their attention to detail. Um, the companies in the United States, I really, now you got to remember, I build a lot of vintage Revell kits. Their old stuff, like the that S kit Cougar that I built recently, was
mhm.
really high grade stuff, but it came out of a new polished mold also. Their kits in the mid to late 60s, like the Spitfire that I built, the actual quality of the plastic was okay, but the fit wasn't very good. Some parts were undersized. The acrylic parts have often been a little off scale. Even that Catalina, which is a Revell kit, came out in '65, I think. The blisters were too big for the mounts, and in the Spitfire and the Messerschmitt, the canopies were too small. They had a huge gap in them. But in the '70s, I got a B-25 Mitchell. The one I used for our very first group build was a B-25 Mitchell build, and it was I broke several parts, and I remembered even when I bought them as a kit, by the late '70s, Revell was using some pretty brittle plastic, and I think it was probably some kind of cost saving measure. It was just my guess. Because I understand now, okay, maybe it got old and didn't age well, but I remember having broken parts on Revell kits in '79.
Yeah,
Monogram, I didn't have that problem with. Aurora's plastics usually seemed a little rubbery.
yeah. They were kind of the king of low cost everything.
Yeah,
You know,
and they lacked detail, but they were cheap,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and
They
they made a
were.
lot of cool. When I looked up worst kits, for something to talk about, it, the Aurora T55 tank was near the top of the list for a lot of people. But guys, I want you in the comment section just to start listing the worst kits you've built that you can remember. Um, the only tractor trailer I ever built, or excuse me, the only semi tractor I ever built, I remember having a lot of problems with, but I don't remember who made it. That would have been back in the mid
Is
'70s.
that the one you did when you did the Strange Brew?
No, no, I only built the trailer.
Oh,
Okay,
okay,
I'm going by this. This is actually the front end of the tractor,
okay.
and Salvino's has an odd plastic that seems to be bendable.
Well, let
The
me
old
tell you,
Hawk kits, yeah, Hawk had some iffy kits. They had some good ones, but they had some iffy ones.
if you have to bend if you have to bend the plastic to get the warps out, it wasn't molded right.
Yeah, unless it was stored in the sun or something.
It sounds like too much heat.
Just got back from the Daytona 200 races. It's funny you should mention that, Trey, because I think it was Bike Week in Daytona. And Eduardo's up here with us because he can't sleep during bike week because all the rackets, because we have our condo down in Daytona. So he's spending the week up here with his cat. The older 132 Row was a crappy kit, terrible fit. Yeah, Keenan, that's exactly the model I was talking about. It's funny, too. The ailerons were too small. The canopy wasn't long enough. All that said, though, and you're right, there were a lot of fit issues, but it had the best box art in kit model history. That box art, you guys, I've told you before, that's my single favorite. That Linwood box art of the Spitfire from Revell with the other one peeling off, so you got that white underbelly, visible. I was like, oh, God, that was so beautiful. Yet, I was so excited to build the kit, and when I built it, I was so disappointed. I had to glue the ailerons in because even though they're supposed to move, they were just too short. They would just fall out. And
the worst plastic, anything from the last few years of the USSR, must have been damaged by Chernobyl.
Yeah, or Ukrainian drones. But and I gotta give the Ukrainians credit. They got like 9 kit model companies in that country. I think Ukraine may have the most kit model companies per capita of any country in the world. And even with everything that's going on, they're still cranking them out, and there hasn't been to my knowledge, there hasn't been a loss of quality. But I have a kit by Valone that was given to me. It's that little 1/72 scale Navion. I was just looking at it earlier today. I was hoping to find Fran some little yellow Army decals. Like I said, one of the hardest things you can find are white and yellow U.S. Army, decals. I even went on to see if there were just sheets of them that I could buy. Found them in black, but not in yellow, not in white. So especially at the scale that we need. Fran's making the Army Mustang from the chase plane video I did. And, there might be a decal company that's done the decals for that plane, but those planes, I don't think so. Because they only had 3, and 2 of them were Cavaliers, and 1 was a regular P-51D, so they would actually have to have different decals because the tails are shaped different on them. Anyway, finding those decals has been a trick. I looked, just U.S. Army water slide decals, yellow, black, white, and the only ones I found were in black, and I have plenty of those. But
Sluggo, the worst thing is worse than not having numbers on the sprues is when they're too small and you can't even read them.
Oh, God, that drives me up the wall. Now, I did buy a model, and I forget who made it, but there were no numbers on the sprue, and I got a little irked, but then I opened up the instruction sheet and realized it was all on, they had a complete runner tree map with everything clearly labeled there. So you just had to go to the correct sprue, the runner tree, and clip that part off so you knew where it was. And, you had to keep going back to the instruction sheet, but that wasn't so bad. Those Enterprise, with the nightmare fuel with the sagging nacelles. Speaking of Enterprise, I've built 2 NX-01 Enterprises. The one that I lit up and did in Mirror, and then the old one. And I realized I actually have the decal set for the NX-01 that I never used that has all the Aztec stuff already on it. God. And I've already got all the decals on the thing, so I don't think I could go back and put them on. Just an excuse to buy another one.
There you go.
But big raised numbers on the panel. Yeah, you have to grind those off. I don't mind when they put the number on the part if it's something that's going to be covered, but I don't want to have to take the time to sand it down. The Smer Sparviero was unbelievable. Thought he was. Yes, and that gets what I was saying about the Navion. Now, I don't think I've built a balloon kit. This will be the first one when I get around to it. But mind you, this airplane is going to be this big when I'm done. It's a 1/72 scale North American Navion, okay? A little 4-seat airplane. But it's in Navy markings. All right, fine, no worries. That size, it has a full sheet of photo etch parts. The canopy on the Navion, it's a 4-person sliding canopy. But they give you a bubble, and then they also give you another one as a 2-piece in case you want to do it canopy open. But you got to mask and paint the whole thing. Which, it's not that it's that hard, it's just the idea that, wow, okay, I did not see that one coming. And I'm thinking about when I get around to doing it, I'm going to have to do a build video on it. Because 1/72nd scale and photo etch, this inherently never goes well. And, but, you know, I looked at that and I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Photo etch on a 1/72nd scale airplane this big, and all I could hear ringing in the back of my head was, the gauntlet has hit the floor. The challenge has been made. Or if I may paraphrase Khan, he tasks me. You know? Oh, so that's how we're going to play, huh? What could go wrong?
Everything you haven't figured out.
Oh, I just see all kinds of stuff. So we'll when I get around to it. I have to build that Italeri CH-34 helicopter because I opened the box today. I was hoping maybe it had some yellow U.S. Armies in it, and I realized it had been taped up and put in bags, put in the box, and now I've got it all spread out. And I'm kind of like, well, I can't put it back in the box now. I'll just have to build it. And how many times have you guys wound up building a kit because you wound up opening the box and looking for something, spreading the parts around? Once it was on the table, like, yeah, heck, I'll just build this. Oh, Scotty, I had the exact same problem. You know, these dados are not, you know, muy grande dados. So, yeah, I do that a lot. I curse myself a lot.
Don Lee Cartoon says, I remember some MPC or NTEX kits from the 70s where the fit was so bad I was pretty sure the fuselage halves were for different planes.
Oh, I
Looks
got
like
two.
that one you were working on this
Yep.
week.
Yep, and I will say this for Mach 2. For a small company, you know, at least they're, I mean, yeah, it's a crap fit, but you've got an interesting product. And the major components, no, I got to take that back. I'm not going to. The wing halves, the top and bottom of the wings fit without any trouble, even though there are no alignment pins on this model except on the control yokes. That's it. And I had to bore those out, and they still didn't fit. I just snipped them off, put in some super glue, and just held it until it hardened. And I've been trying the baking soda trick with super glue to get it to harden faster. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Oh, Ken's here. What do you know? All right.
Captain Ken.
It says Debbie Mix, but okay. And he's tuning in. Brankett, there we go.
There he is.
Let me enlarge his presence.
Does that mean you've run aground?
There he is. Hey, Ken.
Hey.
You over at your with your grandson?
Yep. How'd you tell?
Not your usual backdrop. Are you? You're not by chance going to be around on Wednesday, are you?
Maybe around.
In Orlando. I'm coming down to Orlando on Wednesday to get up with Fran and Trey.
Oh no. I'm just here for the weekend. Debbie's gonna be here though.
Okay. Well, we're going to go to a cool model builder's place who does great work, and I'm going to be impressed and wowed.
I'm in the Trace place.
Well, no, I mean, Trey does great work, but there's another guy whose place we're going to that Fran's going to introduce me to.
Oh, okay. Is he on the live stream tonight?
Well, Fran and Trey are here, yeah.
No, I'm talking about the guy you.
Trey says it's Ken.
Yeah, he likes to do that.
Oh, who doesn't? It's fun. And it happens at your expense, so, yeah, all the funnier.
Sarah Jane, you're in the club.
By the way, Ken, just so you know, you're Shump.
What?
Shump.
Shemp.
You
From the
Shep.
Stooges.
Shep.
The Stooges.
Shep. I call you Shemp. It's Shep.
You're
No,
saying
Shemp.
Shemp. It's
Oh,
not Shemp.
wait, it's Shep, not Shemp? Oh, okay. I always called him Shemp. I don't know why.
It is. It's Shemp.
It's Shep.
No. It's Shemp. No, it's Shemp.
Hey, Porcupine, it's Shep. Actually, Larry's Porky. You're Porcupine. That's Larry.
Thank you.
I'm Mo.
maybe.
Although Steve may be Mo. I'm not entirely sure.
I'm not sure either. Yeah, maybe get a little bit more light on my face.
Of course, it could also be Curly. Whoop, 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 whoop. Mwah. You know those guys. I actually saw like an hour-long interview with Mo done in the 70s. And he's actually an interesting guy to listen to. But, and Steve, you probably know this, but the Three Stooges, he talks about how they started in vaudeville and everything, and how they kept dying, having strokes and everything. Yes. That's why they went Curly Joe. There were these guys. They lived a hard life though. They drank. I mean, they were.
Oh yeah. Shemp died in the front seat of their car on the way back from the racetrack. He went to the racetrack and he just turned around and they were talking and he just like.
I think it was a stroke.
It was a heart attack.
Heart attack.
Yeah.
And
Curly had strokes.
That was Curly kept having them too.
He had several of them. Yes. And he had several of them.
How Mo and Larry lived a long time too. Mo and Larry were the two that lived a long time.
Mo and Larry lived the longest.
Curly Joe, I think, was a lot younger than they were. I think.
He was.
But let's see, there was Shemp, Curly, Curly Joe, and wasn't there a fourth one? Anyway, but
it was Joe Dorita.
Joe Dorita.
And then there was, there was Shemp, there was Curly,
So there was three of them. Okay. Now, if was it Shemp and Mo were brothers? Do I have that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And
so was Curly.
Was a brother?
Yeah,
or
there
cousin?
were three of them were brothers.
Okay,
Larry,
I remember there.
Larry,
and
Larry
Mo Howard, the Howard family. That's it.
Howard brothers.
And he was talking about how they got started, and they were doing a vaudeville routine, and some guy who was really established picked them up and said, "Hey, you want to join my show?" And it was a big step up for them, so they did. But there were only two of them, I think, at the time, and they wound up adding on and brought their brother in, and they saw Larry Fine. Larry, that's his name, Larry Fine. They saw him like playing violin and doing a comedy routine. He was actually an excellent violin player. But they wound up inviting him to join them, and he did. But hey, Steve, why don't you real quick, for those who don't know, give a real quick breakdown to folks what vaudeville was.
Vaudeville was live stage performance. It was comedy, there was singing, there was drama, and it toured around the country. And a lot of, if you looked at a lot of the movie houses in big cities, they had stages. They weren't just to show movies, and they had live performances.
The theater in my hometown, the Lee Theater, had a stage because it had been used that way.
And these guys traveled all over the country. They sort of followed the circuit, as they said.
Now, a lot of these guys, and I understand people like Al Jolson, Milton Berle, these huge names in Hollywood had all started in vaudeville. That was where you got your start back then. It's just the way it was.
Yeah, you worked your way up.
And there were some of them that they were like, hey, you want to come to Hollywood and to California and make movies like 19 teens, and they're like, why would I go to California out in the desert and to this silly little town I've never heard of, And Los Angeles is such a dinky little nothing city, there's nothing out there. It's like, because back in 1910 or whatever, it wasn't. And, but Mo said that the guy they'd gone to work for after a couple of years working with him, they'd kind of gotten their own reputation. And he was a pretty bad alcoholic and was getting hard to work with. So I think he wound up dying not long later. So they went out on their own. They struck gold. But it was a very different...
Sluggo, burlesque was part of that.
Yeah. Now burlesque was the more adult stuff.
It was part of the, of the vaudeville circuit. There was usually one or two burlesque performers.
Of course, the burlesque performers of the day, I doubt were anything like what people see today. I mean, I imagine it was...
No, it's not today.
It was somewhat, I don't know if I want to use the word dignified, but civilized. Anyway,
A lot more suggestive.
vaudeville lived longest in the Catskills, playing into the 60s. That's pretty impressive. Hey, there's a Y in yuck. It's N-Y-U-C-K.
Well, it's funny. Catskills, you talk about the Catskills. I mean, that was a major, you know, It was like the Las Vegas of the East. So,
Well, isn't that where like Dirty Dancing took place? Is in the Catskills?
yes, that is where Dirty Dancing came place. Where you had these people from New York that were predominantly Jewish people, and they would go up and they would rent either cabins or they'd rent a space in these hotels for the summer.
Yeah, and people don't realize that the doctors and lawyers they would vacation all summer.
Yeah. Well, the families would stay up there, and the husband, who was usually the breadwinner, he would commute and spend the week down in, New York City area and go to work and then go up on Friday night and spend the weekend and come back Sunday night so he could be to work on Monday. And that has absolutely disappeared. The buildings are all abandoned and in great ruin, and they were quite, the place to be.
Okay, since you brought that up, allow me to extemporate just a bit on the later. This dovetails perfectly with what you're talking about.
Okay.
When I was, in fact, where I met Ken was up in Gaithersburg, Maryland. Worked for a gentleman named Stan Shapiro, and he bought out the remnants of Pocono Airways, which, as you know, Pocono's up in the Catskills.
Yeah.
Okay? And I got to meet the president of the airline. It was a little commuter airline, flew Metroliners. And we were just buying like the office chairs and typewriters. Stan got the whole thing for a song. Anyway, they were flying for TW Express, which was TWA feeder airline. And it was mostly seasonal, but I asked him, what happened? You had a, working airline, you had a decent little route structure. And he basically, what you just talked about, now mind you, this is back in 1990, 89, 90, is the Catskills were dying out. No one was flying in there anymore. Yeah. And that killed his airline. Not that he did anything wrong or the company did anything wrong, the market just dried up. And I used to fly over that airport going into, I think it was going into White Plains or Stewart, I forget which one, but
Stewart.
And going into Stewart, and I always look down there. Yeah, I've been to the airport, and it's a little heartbreaking in a way, because this went on for over a century, but travel habits and things change.
It was a big deal.
Glass of water when you get a chance. Done.
It was a big deal at one time. I mean, that's
Poconos are in Pennsylvania. You know what? You're
Yes.
right. Is that part of the Catskills?
No,
I'm sorry.
Catskills were in New York.
Right. Okay.
The Catskills and the Poconos were two separate things.
Okay, but they were comparable, and they were both tourist destinations.
They were similar, but the Catskills were more Jewish oriented than Poconos.
The one I'm thinking is the Poconos, but it was the same. The Poconos actually lasted
Same
a little
thing.
longer. They're still kind of a thing today, but not like they used to be. But it dovetails with what you were talking about. And how bad was the shorts and the bumps? I didn't fly the shorts, although since they were unpressurized, I imagine they were pretty lumpy. And I call the shorts the winged Winnebago, box with wings on it. A lot like the York that I'm building. I look at it and like, this thing looks like a big shorts. I actually told my wife yesterday, I was like, this is like a big shorts 360. And she was kind of like, yeah, whatever that means. Or was it her I was talking to? Anyway. But the... let me explain something to you guys that most of you probably already know. Any airliner...
Why do we need it explained?
any airliner made before pressurization was not, including the venerable DC-3, was not fun to fly in as for the average passenger because you were down in the bumps. The shorts, the DC-3, the DC-4, none of those planes were pressurized. The York, the Lancastrian, Once they started pressurizing and getting them above 20,000, that made things a lot better. Now you're going to find turbulence eventually everywhere, but generally speaking, even in the movie The Aviator with Leonardo DiCaprio, when they're talking about the Constellation, he tells them to cruise at 20,000 feet. He's like, that's good, because it'll get them, nobody wants to ride down the bumps. But there is a glamour associated with these old airplanes, and rightfully so. But, big seats, good food, free booze. It was an adventure. But people who get on airliners don't want adventures, they want transportation. And if I may say something that's going to be a little unpopular. Yeah, the Doe 228. Exactly. You're exactly right, Dennis. That's a little Dornier 19-seater. And unpressurized. Built like a tank. But rough ride if you're down in it. But guys, I know all of us get on airliners these days and we lament the small seats and the crappy snacks and the security. But we are the reason the airlines do that. We wanted affordable travel. All those magnificent perks in the days of yore. Steve, how much was a plane ticket in modern dollars? If you as a business traveler, I know you traveled all the time. How much was a plane ticket to China in 1970? Before deregulation, or 75?
They were like 4,000 to 5,000.
And that's 25 grand a day.
Yeah.
Flying the Martin line, yeah, I knew some guys who flew the 404s and the 202s. Also, they talked about them. Okay, time for a Martin liner story. Martin Aircraft made a couple airliners because, if I'm not mistaken, what they basically did was they hired some Convair engineers away and said, make us a copy of the Convair 240. And they made the Martin 202 and then the 303 and the 404, which are just versions of the same airplane. Well, it wasn't pressurized. And the company he flew for, Pro Air, down out of Miami, and they would buy up all these dilapidated old Pistons that were still flying, and they go fly out in the islands with them. He mostly flew DC-3s and float planes. He was one of my first captains at Mesa Airlines. So, God, are we really going to go back almost 30 years? Jesus, Steve, I can't believe it's been that long.
Been that long.
I look over my shoulder, and I think about these guys like I was talking to them last month, and I realized, dude, this was 1998. Or 99. This is over a quarter century ago, and it seems like yesterday. Anyway, sorry. Captain Tangent strikes again. So, he was flying for Pro Air, and they had bought a Martin 404 from a company. They got a real good deal on it. They were so happy with their deal. Trust me, there was a reason why. It was already a 40-year-old airplane when they got it. And Martin and Convair built them great. These were not underbuilt aircraft by any. So what I'm about to tell you, it has nothing to do with the airplane's engineering. It's the fact that it was 40 years old and had the crap beat out of it for 4 decades. But they're flying along, and he said, we're having a problem. Check the fuse. So he goes back behind the cockpit, opens the fuse box. Ken, are you still here?
Yep.
Okay. You're going to appreciate this because I think this happened to one of your cars. He opens the fuse, and it's a stack of welded pennies wedged in there.
Oh.
Didn't you have something like that in your Catalina?
No, it was a Oldsmobile 442. It had a screw instead of the bus fuse.
Yeah, that's
They
safe.
did, okay, they did that because the fuse kept blowing out, and it's like, all right, we'll put something in there that won't blow. Well, it didn't, and then the wiring started frying. And
There's a reason it had a fuse.
There was
That
a
was why it
reason.
had a. That was why it had a fuse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now is when I really wish my wife would let me have another drink, because this will be even funnier on a second snort.
What was really stupid, these people, okay, it was a 442.
Oh, the 404 was pressurized. Okay.
Okay, it was essentially a Cutlass. Okay,
Mhm.
and back then, in the rear seat, on the sides, were lights. I don't know what kind of lights you call them. Anyway, one of them blew out, and they decided, well, we'll fix that. Well, what they took out was a 2-contact bayonet and put in a single contact bayonet, which immediately shorted the electrical system out. Well, rather than think, oh, we just put a lamp in there, maybe that caused the problem, they went and replaced the fuse, and it kept blowing fuses. Fine, we'll put the screw in there, which melted the wire.
There you go.
And a good portion of the wiring harness. So I replaced the wiring harness, put a fuse in there. Of course, it immediately blew, and I was like, okay, what's wrong here? And I traced it back to this stupid lamp, and when I put the correct one in, everything was fine.
People are having a little trouble hearing you, Ken. You have to speak up. Trey, I completely agree. I've always said that the necktie is the most ridiculous thing on earth. So, I mean, they look pretty, but, well.
You talk about fairs back in the old days. I mean, I remember being in the mid '80s. I remember being in Hong Kong,
Mm-hmm.
and the plane that was supposed to fly back on, they wouldn't send over from the U.S. because there was some kind of a terrorist threat in the Pacific Rim. So I'm stuck there because I've been there for a month, and I'm going to go home. So I call up the travel agent in New York and say, so I'll call you back. Calls me back and says, okay, I got you booked on a United flight tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. You're going to have to pay for the ticket up front, and Delta's going to reimburse us. Okay. How much is the ticket? One-way ticket was $2,500.
And what year was this?
Like 86, 87.
It makes that about a $9,000 ticket a day easy or more.
Yeah.
But walk-up fare, yeah, they put the screws to you.
Yeah.
Well, the Martin story isn't over yet, though. So he finds a stack of pennies in there, and he goes and tells the captain. He's like, well, just don't touch it. We'll get it on the ground. Well, the captain's having a little issue with the airplane. No matter how he trims it, it keeps wandering off. He cannot get the airplane in trim. Because normally an airliner of any type, you can trim it out where you can fly it more or less hands off for a couple of minutes before it starts to drift. Especially a big thing like a 404. It might have been a 202. But they land, they do an inspection, they replace with a proper, fix the electronics, got it all set up, start up hauling freight and stuff with it. And no captain could ever get the airplane to trim out right. It was always wobbling around. You get the trim set, and it would just, do something weird and start. And they're like, "This is."
You told me about this. I
Yeah,
heard this story.
yeah, you know where this is going.
Yep.
So finally, he goes in for an inspection. He goes, "Look, we have got to figure out what's wrong with this trim because something ain't right." So the mechanics it might have been 100-hour out on it. Turned out, the main wing spar had a big crack in it. And every time they would trim it, the wing would flex. So that airplane became razor blades.
Oh, gosh.
And now there's a reason you got such a good deal on that airplane. Now, if I may tell another quick airline story, when I was up at Pocono, Ken, you remember when Stan bought Pocono Airways, all their office furniture and everything, had to fly up there in Cherokee 6. I think I knew you at that point. And
I knew you, but I didn't go on that flight.
okay, well, that was Allentown was the airport, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, which I learned. I flew in there at night, and I just flew the instrument approach just to keep navigation simple. Good thing I did, because then I flew there in the day, and I saw these massive antennas on top of one of the ridge lines that I did not know were there. And like, that is why you stick to procedure. Anyway, so I saw these airplanes, and they looked like little Dash 8s, and I was like, and I looked them up, and they were Nord 262s, if I remember correctly. They had belonged to Sunshine Airways, which had been a National Airlines regional, if memory serves me right. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the Nord, it was a little French 30-seater and high wing, and they had the turbomecha engines, although this one might have been converted to PT6s. I went back and told Stan, I was like, these things are parked. That airline went under years ago. The planes have been sitting there. You might be able to get them cheap. Totally oblivious to the cost involved in getting a turboprop back in Bristol fashion. So we looked into it. They wanted $1 million for all 5 or 6 airplanes. So, hey guys, it's like $200 grand an airframe. And, well, there was no way we were going to be able to put that kind of money together in 1990. So years later, now roll the camera forward 20 years. I'm flying I think I was still flying at Mesa at that point, and I bump into a guy or another pilot who was deadheading with us, and I happen to mention him. Oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, oh, those planes, yeah, I know them. He goes, I helped ferry them out. They needed Nord qualified pilots because they were bought by some carrier down in the Caribbean that was going to haul freight. So really, and apparently they were in pretty rough shape. And it's a good thing we didn't buy them because they were a money hole. They took them down to the Caribbean because they could fly them without doing any maintenance on them. They just flew them until they dropped. And I was like, okay, there's a reason the airline parked them.
Were the engines timed out?
Ken, everything was timed out.
Uh,
Fortunately, the times in these engines and everything are all pretty conservative. But he goes, the people bought them and just kept doing whatever maintenance they could to keep them running. And they probably milked a few more years out of them, made their money back plus some. But they were in an environment where they could do that. You're not going to do that in the U.S. Down in the islands, man, Liat and those airlines down there, I better not say that, I don't want to get sued.
Yeah, no.
Well, I don't even know if Liat's still around. It stood for Leeward Island Air Transport. I met some of their crews, great guys, but Liat was flying a bunch of Dash 8s, and they had, and I mean, this isn't my opinion. I remember reading this in the trade journals, so I can back this up. Liat had the lowest consumer satisfaction and customer satisfaction and the worst on-time record of any airline in the Caribbean. Now, stop and ponder on that for a moment. We're not talking about the U.S. We're talking about the Caribbean with their slow pace. And yeah, we'll get there when we get there, man. And they had the worst of everything.
island time, man.
So I actually wound up was eating breakfast at the crew hotel. God, something, those are the kinds of things you really miss, or the people you get to meet and chat with. That's what I miss about the job. So I'm sitting there having my breakfast at the crew hotel, and these 2 Caribbean guys are at the table next to me talking about airplanes. And hey, guys, I'm a pilot with blah 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 airlines. I just heard you talking. Oh yeah, we're getting qualified on the ATR 42. Say, oh, are you guys happy to get the ATR? I go, no, we want our Dash 8s back. What happened to Dash 8s? Liat flew the Dash 8s, which is a industrial strength airplane. They flew them until they were completely timed out, and they literally, even in the Caribbean, were not allowed to fly them anymore. The cost of overhaul was more, there's zero timing the airplanes, was more than the cost of getting good second-hand ATRs by a wide margin. And they get the ATRs for a couple of million a piece. To overhaul the Dashes is going to be like $8 million, versus $2 million for. Because the ATR does have a better avionics suite in it, but he was just talking about all the things they miss. And it's not that there's anything wrong with the ATR, but these guys have been flying Dashes, getting away with bloody murder because the Dash is such a forgiving airplane. And you can do so much with it. The Canadians make those things like they were building tanks. And the French build their airplanes somewhat more daintily. So they had to be more careful with the ATRs. And there's a lot of ways to hurt yourself on an ATR. They lost one in Puerto Rico that was in 100% operational condition. American Eagle cracked one up down there because the captain made a mistake on approach to land at San Juan. And I was like, whereas like you just can't make that mistake in the Dash 8. It's just bulletproof. And I've spent a lot of time in Dash 8s and with the crews at Dash 8s, and they have an appreciation for that airplane that's on par with anyone that's owned a 45 automatic or a Toyota Corolla. They just go and go and go and go and go, And but it was fun to talk to them because when pilots get around each other, they get pretty unfiltered. And
No, really?
yeah, and I mean, you can bring a Dash in just about sideways, that industrial strength landing gear on it, and that high wing, and the gear comes out of the engine, so it's rounded right to the wing spar. They're just pounding the crap out of them, these crosswind landings. but it just takes it. It takes it, you know, like a hockey player taking a puck to the face. You know, they just shake it off, and you know, hey, it's about time. You know, but the ATRs, man, you just can't get away with that stuff.
And keeps on ticking.
Oh God, I flew the CRJ, which is Canadian built airplane. I'll take it over a F&M Embraer any day of the week. Now JM, but the Q400 was a different story. That's where they pushed the dash too far. The Q400 was a real long one, and it's a heck of a performer. The Dash 8 300, actually, the Dash 8 that you know you really got to respect is the 200. Now the 100 is their 30-seater, the 32-seater, whatever it is, with the regular engines. It's just a normal airplane, and it's a good solid machine. Then they stretched it out and made a bigger one, the 50-seater. That was the 300. But obviously they had to put bigger engines on it, okay? Which, sure, and it's a good solid airplane. But then somebody got the bright idea to take the big honking motors off the 300 and put them on the little airframe of the 100, and that became the 200. And that's the airplane that everybody wants for hot and high. Our airline operated them out of Grand Junction, Colorado. No sweat. Even you can be fully loaded, smoke a motor right at rotation, and you'll just go nose up, pull the gear, and just fly out. It is a balls machine. And every pilot I know who flew it talked about it like they owned a Ferrari. So the Dash had a solid reputation. Well, the regional jets come in, and Canadair was making, you know, the regional jets, so they were in that market. But a lot of companies wanted to keep operating turboprops. They realized, hey, we can just stretch the 300 and put bigger engines on it, and they did. And I remember I was in Wichita when they were test flying thing, had the big test boom sticking out the nose. And the guy was making touch and goes with one engine windmill, not feathered, windmilling. Now, mind you, he didn't have any passengers on board, but still, that's impressive. Guys touching down, going around with the gear hanging, the flaps down, the dead engine windmilling. I mean, that boy had some power. The problem was they made a much longer, heavier airplane with a lot more torquing moment and weight, and they started getting collapsing landing gears on them. And they had 2 or 3 of the gears folded up on.
They finally found the limit.
Sorry, Fran. Yeah, I want this should be a pilots and prop wash. Yeah. So anyway.
So guys, now you know what model to build if you want to build an indestructible plane.
Yeah, I actually have a Dash 8 in the queue, and so I'm trying to get Mr. Henderson, who wrote the book Sunshine Skies, to come on. He said he'd like to, but he's a real busy guy, so hopefully we'll have him on here. That'll definitely be a regional airline episode, and I'm probably going to do that. That's why I dragged out the Dash 8, and I'm probably going to do it in one of the regional airlines. It's in military, but decals, but I'll make in Canadian military decals, but I'll make it one of the regional airlines. But and there are a lot of Dash 8s still flying around the world today. Not as many, obviously, but quite a few. So, great airplane. It and the Beech 1900. If somebody go back to 1990 and start an airline, give me 1900Ds and Dash 8s. And that's not a knock on the other aircraft that are out there, but the Jetstreams are a squirrel, and the ATRs are a little finicky. Not that they're bad airplanes. You could certainly do fine with them. The Jetstreams were very economical. And the Texas Concorde, the Metroliners, the San Antonio sewer pipe, that's one of those airplanes that you get on. There's one seat on each side. There's 19 passenger seats, and you have to duck walk, crunch down real low to get to your seat. You know, the Beechcraft that I flew, the 1900D, the Delta model, the camper tops, at least you could stand up when you walk back to your seat, you know.
Yeah, but the earlier versions, the C's, B's, and
Yeah, I know. The U Alphas, the U Echoes, the B's, the C's, they all had the duck walk. And I've ridden on one with Gulfstream. God, they planted that thing. But anyway. So, I did not mean... Wow, where did this all come from?
We're still trying to figure that out.
Somebody asked the wrong question.
We got you talking about airplanes.
So
Can anybody hear me? Can you guys hear me okay?
yeah, I can hear you okay. You need to speak up a little bit for the audience. So
Oh, okay. All right, because I don't have my
let me
headset
turn
on.
this up a little bit. That way it'll come through a little better. Okay.
I don't have my headset
Now
on.
you're fine. Now you're fine.
I'm using my wife's computer.
That's So, getting back to crappy kits, which was what we were supposed to be talking about tonight. Guys, I'm
So
still
let's
waiting for
talk. Let's talk about the early Revell kits
Mhm.
of cars that had the
Okay.
multi-piece bodies. Before Totif invented the side slide mold, when you could make a one-piece body,
Didn't everybody
didn't everybody what?
have three-sided top, bottom side?
No, not everybody did. Not
Because
everybody
Pyro did, didn't they?
Yeah, some of the, Merit did, ITC did, some people did, but for some reason Revell had those multi-piece bodies until like the late 50s, early 60s.
Well, the Pyro
It was
kits,
really-
the Pyro kits, I think, had the three-piece. You put the sides together on the top. I think.
Yeah.
But they also, Pyro was famous for like super low detail interiors.
Well, the whole kit was usually super low detailed, but I mean, when you looked at a Pyro body, it almost looked like it was vac formed, but it was made out of styrene.
If you did not have to glue it together, it would almost constitute a toy.
Yeah, because those Revell kits, I mean, they were a nightmare because you had to get those body sides to fit to the top part of the body, and glue it good without getting glue all over the side of the body. They were a real pain in the neck to make the kit look good.
That Revell kit that I've had on my shelf for years, it was gift of a glue trooper, the motorized
In the Ranchero.
the Ranchero. I'm taking that with me to Buena Park, but I'm asking for $300. I don't think it'll sell, but that would help offset the cost of the ticket. And yes, I bought a ticket because I'm not going to non-rev to something where I have to be there on time. ITC kits were unassembled toys. That's not unfair. By the way, Eric, morning of Buena Park show, any chance you could pick me up down by the Queen Mary, or do I need to take a Uber?
No pressure. You're on air with all the glue
No
troopers.
pressure. I'm just asking in real time in front of 126 viewers of the channel. But I brought you something. I brought you what you asked for. I get the good stuff for you. I also have a little bonus feature in there. Just saying.
I don't agree that ITC car kits were unassembled toys because not all of them worked. There were some of them that were just nice kits. As a matter of fact, I built a couple of them recently. They were not bad for
Which
their era,
ones?
and they were not
Which ones?
I built the Jaguar XK120, and I built the Pegaso, and they were pretty nice kits for the day.
Hey, Eric. Want some styrene, little boy?
Right back.
The only difference is I'm trying to get into his car. Wow, that just sounded so wrong.
Yeah, well, what else?
And then, Your Honors, on YouTube, cut off the live stream.
What else is new, right? I guess Steve went to go get a kit.
I got your other kid, Eric. Hey, yeah, Tommy. You might be my backup. But I hope to see both of you guys at Buena Park, though. I really do. It's funny, though. I actually built this. I built because I was lucky enough to get a few of them from Mr. Van Osh, and I built one. And yeah, it has the decals and everything embossed on it, which you can sand that down and go into. But this is when Revell, you were asking about the quality of plastic. The quality of plastic in these things is actually quite good. 10 years later, maybe not so much, but the that, I mean, you know how people do that thing with China? You know how people do that thing with China where they'll ding, you know? You can actually kind of do that with styrene. You know, just, you can thump it and tell it, this is, ow, that's starting to hurt. There's no flex or anything. This is good, solid styrene. Good stuff.
Byron Tate, hey Max, Byron Tate says no one brings $300 in cash to a model show.
I know.
Well,
you know.
they don't go home with it.
Huh?
They don't go home with it. If they
So which one is that, Steve?
That's a Pegaso. That's an ITC kit.
That's a Pegaso, really, because Pegaso wasn't known for the greatest kits. Hold
No,
it,
no,
hold,
no.
hold it
Pegaso-
closer to you. Hold it a little closer
Pegaso
to you.
the
There you go.
car.
There you go. Perfect.
Pegaso the car.
Oh, Pegaso the car. I was thinking the company Pegaso. I have built a couple of their kits. They're pretty basic.
Now this is an ITC kit from the 50s. It's not a bad kit.
No, I'm glad to see that.
It's not toy-like at all. You know, they did make some nice kits. The Jaguar was great. You know,
I believe the proper way to say that is Jaguar.
yeah. Well, it's the way to say it is stuff that doesn't run when it rains. But
If we learned anything from Mad Men, it's that this Jaguar is so unreliable, you can't even kill yourself with it.
hey, when you got the Lucas Lord of Darkness electrical
There
system,
you go, baby. The Prince of
Good to go.
Darkness. But,
Thank you, Slogo.
Francis says, I didn't realize we were covertly switched to Max's Pilots and Prop Wash channel.
yeah. I think you're a little behind on the stream there, Ken. I addressed that a couple of minutes ago.
Oh, well, I'm going back and reading things.
Yeah.
Because I've only got one screen, so I'm switching back and forth.
Oh, okay. But the snob condiments. The worst kits I remember building when actually buying them. Now, I'm not really going to count the vinyl tracks from Aurora. That was what I call standard bad. You expected that. So you knew it was bad, but you expected it, so it was just standard bad. The outstanding bad, I built one Mustang, or my brother did, and it even looked funny in the artwork, or in the photo on the box. It was a little 1/72 scale Mustang. I forget who made it, though, but it had like this big bulbous top. I mean, the whole front of the airplane was shaped wrong. It looked like a banana. The fuselage looked like a banana. We were so put off by it, but we couldn't stop looking at it. It was so wrong that we kind of thought, I like it just because it's so bad. It's weird. I remember building a couple of model airplanes, and of course I built mostly airplanes, that just nothing fit on. But I remember building the Hawk kit, and their Thunderbolt has two different turtle decks. You can get the Razorback or the bubble canopy out of the same model. And I built that not that long ago again. I think that one I might have gotten from Bruce, Mystic Modeler Ships. And the lady who gave it, it was gifted to him by a lady whose father, I think, had passed. And so I named it after her. I put her name on the side of the airplane. And I remember, although it made a, I actually still have it in the Tarbis on display. I think I made the D model out of it with the bubble. And I remember looking at it and going, you know, this is actually an almost translucent plastic. And it's kind of flexy. I wasn't real impressed with some of the Hawk styrene, or some of the Hawk kits for that matter. The testers kits often have a lot of issues. I built their U2. Everything was warped because the wings were long and for whatever they did. So there's a lot of kits out there with known issues. Half the Aurora stuff has fit issues. That's almost a given. And you just come to accept it. The Revels, some of the bigger 1/32 scale Revels, the ones that ticked me off was when I built 1/48 scale monograms that had fit issues, because normally that was their forte. And I even had Tamiya kits that had some fit issues. I mean, Tamiya is a great company, but nobody's perfect. Just a couple of days, Tommy, Saturday and Sunday. I get in Friday night. And, well, I get in midday Friday. I'm staying at a hotel. I'm not going to give this information over the internet. If you want to know, I'll send you email me and I'll send you an email. But I'm staying down in Long Island. Long Island, listen to me.
Long Island.
Yeah, I'm staying in Long Island so I can attend a show in Buena Park. Yeah, that's how we roll in the airline biz. No, I'm staying in Long Beach, and I get in midday California time if everything runs on time. I get in at midday and I head out in the morning on Monday, but I don't get back to Florida till midnight Florida time. And one reason I did not take JetBlue, one is okay.
You don't want to ride in the back.
No, I can't ride in the cockpit anymore, Ken. You have to be.
I know, but you still don't want to ride in the back, though.
I got to ride in the back.
No. You missed my point. You don't want to ride in the back.
No.
You'd rather ride in the front where you flew the plane.
But I can't do that no more.
I'm aware of that. That's what retirement means.
Point I'm getting at is, if I went on JetBlue, I would have to go into LA. Unfortunately, if we went to Long Beach like we did for decades, I'd just take JetBlue. I would buy a regular ticket with my employee discount, okay? But I have to go into LA. Then take a cab or an Uber or something all the way down to Long Beach, okay? The cost of the Uber offset about 75% of the cost of just buying a ticket on Southwest and going straight into Long Beach. So the extra 25% is just a convenience fee, to get off and be 7 minutes from my hotel. It does feel awkward to be on another airline, but I get to remember, hey, I got a real ticket and they got to treat me like a real passenger. Which on Southwest doesn't mean a whole lot. But
yeah, that doesn't mean much.
Last time I did this, I spent 3 hours in Denver. Denver is not a bad place to spend 3 hours. There's a lot to see and do at the airport. And the food wasn't horribly expensive. And they did give me my employee discount, God bless them. But the trip I was able to put together wasn't the cheapest, but it's only an hour in Denver. So I'm like, okay, that works. So, back to Mark's. I completely missed the point. Okay, what was the point?
We need a point?
There was a point?
We need a point.
You're right. I completely missed it. Yanks is reporting to PBI complete. I'm going back to Brian's comments to try and figure out what point I missed.
Tell them, guys. Tell them.
Somebody will tell you. Just ask.
Ask. I just did. No. Okay, let me tell you the problem with an ID-90. I thought about getting a Z fare, an ID-90, which I can do as a retiree. But those are space available. And one thing I learned about California, flights are usually full. That's the catch. If I'm don't get me wrong, if I'm traveling just for me to go goof off, I'll go on the freebie, or the ID-90. And if I don't get there, I don't get there. But I got to make the Buena Park show. That's the whole purpose. Mike got a table for us. Mike and I and Jim, we're going to be right next to Jim Feason's table. And I think it's right as you come in. And I'm only bringing about a half dozen of my more valuable kits in hopes of selling them. I'd honestly be surprised if I sell any of them. And I guarantee if I do, I'm not going to. We all know I'll probably get knocked down on the price. But
let's broadcast that before you go.
Huh?
Let's broadcast that before you
Yeah, I'll
go.
broadcast that to the world. I've got an asking price. It's only an asking price. How much you got in your wallet?
Right.
You know what? I
Sluggo.
may just stick to it just to be a jerk,
Sluggo, I went to Uvar Hazy with Max.
Yes. Boy!
He knew everything about every plane in the place. By the time we were to the fifth plane, we had a crowd of people and the docents following us. Okay, so
We did.
yes, he would make an excellent tour guide at an aviation museum.
Yep.
The same thing happened.
When we went. He did the same thing when we went too, but we didn't have a bunch of people following us. But he did give me a lot of really interesting information about the airplanes.
We had an entire group of people. If we would have charged, we could have flown to California. Actually,
God, if Mike had been with me, that would have been the perfect round out. because he could have filled in the gaps. When
Right,
my,
right.
on my honeymoon, my wife and I went to no, not our honeymoon, but we took a trip up to New York and we went to Madame Tussauds, the wax museum. And I was telling her about all the characters, and she told me, "You realize we had like 9 people that were just tagging along and listening."
Yeah, I've done that.
I have become the guy from the Progressive commercial. Can't stop them turning into their dad. I'm talking to the girl we're buying this UPS, this uninterrupted power supply, and I'm talking to her about something. And she goes, "Mimo, stop! What? You become the Progressive commercial?" I'm like, "No, oh my God, I have."
I had that happen at the Peterson Museum.
Yeah.
I took my son to the Peterson Museum, and we were going, and I had the docents following me. And at the end, they were like, "You should work here. You know more about this stuff than we do." Like,
That's when Steve, when you've died, because you'll open your eyes and you'll be a docent at the Peterson Museum with keys to every car. And that's when you're going to know, I made it to heaven.
I went to the Peterson Museum once by myself when I was on a business trip, and they had a bunch of cars parked outside where the entrance is in the garage, and I was looking at them, and the guy who ran the museum was there, and he said to me, "You know what these cars are?" I was like, "Yeah." He says, "If you can tell me what these cars are," he says, "I'll give you free admission."
Oh my God.
I was like, "Okay," boom, boom, boom. And he goes, "Oh, you knew that?" I was like, "Yeah." I said, "You want to play Double or Nothing for gift shop?" He was like, no, just go.
When I was in high school, I had a paper route, and one of my customers, she was, I guess, a tour guide at the Air and Space Museum, and her husband was a B-29 pilot in World War II. Oh, did she have some interesting stories?
I bet she did.
Yes.
I remember I was at JetBlue, and a lady came on board, very nice, not exactly elderly, but older than I am, Asian lady. And she goes, "Oh, you're the captain." I'm like, "Yes, ma'am." She goes, "Did you ever see the photograph of a B-17 that had the fuselage mostly sliced in half where it was hit by an ME-109?" And I'm like, my brain is like, whoa. 60-something-year-old Asian lady is asking about this photograph of a B-17 over Italy with sliced in half, which I saw like when I was 14 years old in a book and remembered it. And I was like, my synapses were burst. I think I had a minor aneurysm. Anyway, I was like, I know exactly the one you're talking about. It is the left stabilizer's missing. There's a slash all the way through. She goes, "That's the one." She goes, "Do you know what song was named? I think A Wing and a Prayer." She goes, "Yes, the song A Wing and a Prayer was named after it." She goes, my husband was the pilot." And I went, "Wait a minute."
Whoa.
She goes, "He's passed away." I said, "Wait a minute. He would have been about 90. She goes, "Yeah." "And you're like maybe in your 50s? She goes, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh yeah, he was a pilot." And I wanted to keep talking to her, but people were like, "Can we get on the plane now?" Shh, I'm talking to someone important here.
Hey,
Oh, did she?
No, wait.
She was so thrilled that I knew, and I was like, "Ah," And I told the flight attendant, whatever she wants, just give it to her. I'll sign the ticket, And honored guest, and even in an airline at that point in history, I doubt there were 100 pilots of the airline who would have known what she was talking about, and all the military guys would have probably known, especially the Air Force guys. But she was a really nice lady too. Very proud of her late husband, and rightfully so. You guys, I'm sure, know the picture I'm talking about. For those who don't, go look up Wing and a Prayer B-17. There's a B-17 still in flight. There's a gigantic diagonal slash going right past the waist gunner where it got, I don't know if it got rammed on purpose, but it got hit by a BF-109 that did not survive the impact. And they nursed that thing home. And I believe that's where the song A Wing and a Prayer came from. The people you meet, I tell you what, I was just thinking about this earlier today. I was telling my wife, I don't miss the crap that goes with my job, but I do miss the people. The people you meet, the people you work with. I couldn't have been happier with the folks I worked with.
Yeah.
And, now, Steve, I have to
Yes.
take a quick intermission. While I do, would you please tell everyone your Neil Sedaka story?
Oh, yes. Well, Neil Sedaka, as we all know, recently passed away at the tender age of 86. And Neil used to perform regularly at
Yep.
Sands in Atlantic City.
Wave at him.
And so Neil would come with his Rolls Royce, and he would request that it be parked in a special spot. And every morning, Neil would come out in fuzzy slippers and a bathrobe with his coffee to go check on his Rolls Royce to make sure that no one had messed with it.
Fun. Steve, you're being outdone.
Well, that's because I don't have props.
Chicken and a firefly. Chicken plus
Okay,
firefly.
don't talk. Just
I don't
let Steve tell a story. I can't see the comments. Is somebody saying something?
Not yet.
Not
Oh,
yet?
hello, little man. Hello, little man.
You got a
It's
comment.
Ken's grandson.
Yep,
Chicken. That's firefly.
that's enough. Okay.
So he's going to go work for Chick-fil-A when he grows up?
Who knows? He does like chicken nuggets.
It's okay, Brian. Nobody listens to me anyway. So Ken, what were you up to today besides driving to Orlando?
I took my grandson to get a haircut with me. That was quite the experience. He, when we got here, his hair was really long and shaggy. And I said, "Oh, you want to go get a haircut with me?" He goes, "Not really. I want to grow my hair like my dad." Because his dad's hair, he's got a long ponytail. Anyway, so I said, "Well, it kind of needs to be trimmed up a little bit." He goes, "Okay, all right, I'll go with you." So he goes with me. Can you all hear me okay, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
All right, so we go over to the hair cuttery place, and we get in there, and we go up to the counter, and I said, "Now this lady is a professional," and I said, "Do you think he needs any kind of a trim?" And she goes, "Yeah, we could probably trim that and make it look much better." He goes, "No, I don't want to get my hair cut." And he goes over and sits down in the chair. Okay, and the lady who didn't miss a beat, she says, "We have popsicles." No, we have lollipops. We have lollipops. And he goes, "Do you have cherry?" "I think we do." And he goes, "Okay."
I'm not cheap, but I can be had. Hold on a sec. Oh, go ahead. Was that it, or?
No, there's a little bit more to it.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So we go over and he gets in the chair, and she's asking, what he wants done, and about that time, my girl comes over and says, "Okay, we're gonna go over and wash your hair." Normally, I don't usually do that, but I thought, what the hell? It comes with the price of the thing. Well, they washed his hair too, and he didn't want to do it at first either. And she says, "Oh, it feels really good." And he goes, "Okay." So he goes over there, and after it's done, she's, "That did feel good. Very relaxing."
I'm going to pose a quick question. I want you guys just to type. By the way, Fran, why on earth did they have an M12 in service when you were in the Army? If I read that correctly. Because I think dates back to World War II. So, you taking off, Slugo? You have a good night, man. Thanks for coming out with us. I'm giving Fran, when I see Fran, oh, by the way, Trey, email me if there's anything you want me to bring to give to you. I'm giving a couple of things to Fran that I know I'm not going to get around to building. So And one of the things I have that I'm planning to build was an M41 gun motor carriage, the big one, long barrel 155. Why on earth would they still have an M12 in service? I mean, I'm sure there's a reason, but if he says happy he plays, will kill the live stream.
Hey, Steve, did you finish your story about Neil?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You
All right. I
were
just
paying
wanted to make
attention.
sure.
You were
I just
going
love the
through
whole
that.
pink robe checking on his Rolls Royce. I'm like,
Yeah.
he just always impressed me as a nice guy, but you know.
He's a very regular guy, according to my friend. He would hang out with the guys, that worked at the casino, and he was really a nice guy.
My roommate, when I was a police officer in Alexandria, had to do a project with Eddie Albert from Green Acres. And he said he was absolutely the most foul-mouthed guy he ever met. And I was like,
Who's
he's
that?
an old Eddie Albert. And I said, he's an old sailor. What do you expect? A lot of people don't know that Eddie Albert was a legitimate war hero. He was commanding a landing craft, and under fire, he was fishing guys out of the water. I think it was at Palelu. And I mean, literally bullets whizzing around everywhere.
Wow.
He'd lived a hard life. So, something else I thought we'd touch on real quick was we all have kits in our stash, or we build the kind of the same thing over and over again. Do I really want to do another RAF Hurricane? I've got 6 of them on the shelf. I've built it 12 times. And I found a couple interesting ideas. I've talked about this before. Now, I did not realize that with the fall of Singapore, the Japanese got their hands on some operational hurricanes, Hawker Hurricanes. The tropical versions, the tropes, the Mark IIs, which Revell makes a model of, although the Revell one has the 20mm cannons. You could get rid of that easy enough. But there's only one that I think they flew, and there's no color photos of it, and the color guides disagree with each other. But they did, I was just thinking, this is an opportunity to do something different, and I love making models in abnormal paint schemes, captured by the Germans or enemy aircraft captured by Ken can tell you that my radio-controlled ME-262, my free-wing ME-262, I put it in American markings of the capture with the red tail and everything, and the red canopy frame of the one that we captured in test flew. One of the ones that we captured in test flew.
Flew nice too. That's a good flying plane.
Once it was in the air, getting it off the ground was a trick.
Yeah.
Well, I had done enough.
Yeah, right.
It was a heavy model. I'd pranged it enough times. The gears were getting a little crooked. So I go roaring down the runway to make a left turn. And that was on me. I mean, I was probably more airplane than I should have been flying. But God, you're right. When it was in the air, it flew solid.
Yeah, it was a good flying plane.
But you only had about 3.5 minutes. You better get it on the ground. Or what that thing needed was a ballistic recovery parachute. Why are you laughing? I'm dead serious.
I know you're dead serious. That's why it's so funny. You don't see too many ballistic recovery chutes on model airplanes.
Eric, you're ahead of me. I was going to go there. I didn't get pictures. The Japanese not only had Brewster Buffaloes and A-20s, they had almost a full squadron of Buffaloes, and 2 of the A-20s, if I'm not mistaken, were still in the crates. So they were like brand new. They also
factory.
Huh?
Did they order them?
Yeah. The Dutch had them and hadn't gotten them in operation, or the British had them and hadn't gotten them in operation yet. They just been delivered when they took Malaysia. And to add insult to injury, they also got a couple of the Curtiss Wright C-21s. They had a bunch of stuff. I did not appreciate how much the Japanese had. And while we're on that, allow me to extemporate a quick point. I only learned today. If I knew this, I'd long since forgotten it. They also, in the last couple of months of the war, had a P-5M Mariner flying boat. And there's a website dedicated to what happened. This Martin Mariner was strafing a couple of cargo ships, and it took enough damage they couldn't stay in the air. They nursed it along and had to make an emergency landing on the water and taxied up to the beach of an island down in the, Celebes, and that's Indonesia. Well, they wound up beaching it. 2 or 3 of the guys, it had like a 10-man crew, and like 3 of the guys were killed by gunfire, and a couple more were wounded. So they made a camp, They threw palm fronds over the wings to try and hide it, but the Japanese knew where they were at. Japanese infantry came after them on the island, killed 2 or 3 of them, and the other guy who was wounded died. But they managed, I don't know if they were using pistols or they carried something more substantial, but they were actually able to drive off the first attack of the Japanese, spent the night in their little camp. Next day, the Japanese hit them in force. They all spread out into the jungle. 2 were captured, 3 were killed, and 4, I think, lashed with their clothing as ropes, lashed together a raft and paddled out to sea. Well, the 2 that the Japanese captured went back to Japan, were handed over to the Kempeitai, who beheaded them. The 4 that went out to sea, unfortunately, they just did not have the necessary material to make a decent raft. It came undone on them. They all wound up holding onto a log. One guy said, I'm going to swim back to shore, see if I can steal us a canoe. He got back to shore. The Japs grabbed him on the beach and executed him right there. So the other 3 said, screw it, we'll just paddle out to sea and take our chances. Luckily, the next day, they got picked up by another mariner that from the same squadron that came looking for them. So the only 3 guys that survived out of the entire crew were the ones who didn't surrender. And all of them were either killed by the Japanese, a couple as POWs. So there's an entire wow. You know, I had no idea. And the Japanese were able to repair the airplane and test fly it. And they had a whole bunch of other stuff. They got a Hellcat flying. They think they test flew the Hellcat and the Corsair they captured. Most of them were British. They did get a Charlie model Mustang. That was a Dallas-made B model. If you were made in Long Beach, you were a B model. If you were made in Dallas, you were a C model. They did get one flying and test flew it. They had a couple of D models, but I don't think they ever got them to fly. And they had a couple, and you know, you always think about the stuff we captured. You don't stop and think about what the other guys captured. And they actually had 3 B-17s they caught when Manila fell. And even Saburo Sakai's book, he talks about how important that was because they learned the weak spots in the B-17's defensive armament. So, PBM, I'm sorry. Thank you. Yes, not P5M. PBM, I'm sorry. I stand corrected. And they had a bunch of P-40s, yes. Yes, and they actually used the P-40N models, which was an export version, for home defense. So, you know, they made a lot more use of captured aircraft. I just thought that's an interesting story, and it also creates an interesting modeling opportunity. And personally, just my humble opinion, I think models look good in Japanese markings. They just look cool. Because, let's face it, if you put a model in Japanese markings, that means at some point it might get to fight Godzilla.
Mark the time.
Yep. Oh no, I hit Godzilla at 17.
No, he was on before. No.
No, I was on. I did Godzilla at 17, and it was an organic one. I wasn't trying to say it. I brought it up for some other reason. But the kit models that I'm going to give to Fran, the armor models, the multiple launch rocket system, and the self-propelled gun, I actually consider building them just to make Godzilla Defense Force vehicles out of them. But I realize I'm never going to get around to them.
Got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happened to that Shenzhen?
It's funny you should mention. I bumped into Brett at Hurricane Hobbies yesterday. He's actually made a lot of headway on it. He's putting a clear coat on it now. So he sent me some pictures a while back. He actually has made a lot of headway. So hopefully before too long it'll be a display at Hurricane Hobbies. And that's a Zuikimura kit. And it was all set up for Godzilla. Well, sort of. But anyway.
I'm looking forward to seeing that when he gets it done. Those were incredible kits they had on display.
Brett does magnificent work. Now, there's one other thing I stumbled on. It didn't really surprise me that much, I didn't realize, and that is that the Italians and the Yugoslavs had hurricanes. The Italians, and by the way, of the 4 photos, black and white photos of the captured Italian hurricane, the one on the lower left, that is Benito Mussolini inspecting the airplane. And the Italians had a few of them that they captured. Now, they didn't have the trope filter screens on them. And anyway, what I start realizing is a lot of these aircraft in foreign service leave you with a lot of modeling opportunities to do something different, so that you're not constantly making, the same thing over and over again, and just a chance to do something exciting. Personally, occasionally, I like to just make up paint schemes for them. I love doing what-if paint schemes because it stretches your imagination, lets you have some fun, and I think that's the four stack destroyers. So the Japanese captured a ship too. Any Kanji could go to, absolutely.
Well, it's better than them sinking it like they usually did.
Yeah, the Yugoslavs had ordered the Hurricanes from Hawker. That's correct. And apparently, when the crap hit the fan, the British were like, "We need them back." Yeah, but Italians are the biggest. Didn't the they may have, the Romanians flew everything they get hands on. So did the Hungarians. Even the Germans, they put some of the captured aircraft into service, and it's still. And we did the same thing. You guys know that we captured some Panther tanks, and we put them into operation the last year of the war until we ran out of parts and couldn't keep them running. But it's as long as you got ammo and things running, why leave it behind?
Did the U.S. ever field any aircraft that were captured?
I'm not familiar with the I know that. Ken. I don't recall us using any foreign equipment. Although I'm sure we did. We used a lot of Kubel wagons and stuff. I think, like if you watch the Monument Men, they gave because you had to be like bottom priority. They gave Clooney a little Kubel wagon to run around in because they were going to give him a Jeep. But I do know that Montgomery's personal transport plane was a captured German Fiesler Stork.
Well, that's British.
But the point is, the Allies were not above it. But the Stork was a great airplane. It was actually faster than the Piper Cub, needed less. The Stork, I think the Fiesler Stork, arguably, was the best observation liaison plane of the war. But it had the advantage of being purpose-built as such.
It's also very short takeoff and landing, too.
Oh, extremely. Kermit Weeks did a demonstration in his. Some girl won a prize. They gave her a ride in it. And he took her over to, I think he went to some radio-controlled flying field and landed there or something. But, the Stork.
Surprised them, I bet.
Huh?
Surprised them, I bet.
Did I also use the Storch? I did not know that, but that makes sense. Ken, the airplane was magnificent. The Brits used a few HE-115s. Okay, that makes sense. They were okay using squadron hacks. That makes perfect sense.
Didn't they sit on their tail at like a 10 to 15 degree angle or something ridiculous?
They were up there. They were arched up. Gavin points out, we captured German 75 millimeter ammunition, recased it to fire from the M3 Lee 75 millimeter. Why not? If they got the tungsten steel core, go for it.
That's worth it, sure.
Any port
What
of
about
storm.
aircraft? So was the Storch the only thing? Put back into combat? Did the U.S.
I watched Kermit Weeks Stork actually hover. Yeah, and a good headwind, you could hover the thing. What?
Yeah. Did the U.S. ever put any captured aircraft into combat?
Didn't you see where Eagles dare? Well, that was British. I'm sure. I would imagine they might have used them in spy roles or something like that, or they might have used them as interceptors. There's a real danger involved with that.
You get shot down by your own guys.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I don't know if any fratricides actually occurred, but a lot of people don't know this. But during the Battle of Britain, the Italians were there in small numbers, but they were there. And at one point, they were using their biplane, the CR-42, which, by the way, was an excellent little airplane, even though it was an open cockpit biplane. For some reason, it's one of my personal favorite biplanes. I won't bore you. There's a reason for that, but I won't bore you with it. Anyway,
Why stop now?
All right, but guys, this is Steve's fault.
Oh, Steve.
When I was a kid, all the great story when I was a kid, My brother had all his box art on the wall, and one of my favorite box arts was the Freedom Fighters. It was the Chinese little Mosca, Rata, the little Polycarpov. It was the Polish little PZL, you know, the gull wing thing with the fixed gear. And on the right, there was an Italian CR-42 in Swedish markings, that blue disc with the 3 crowns in gold, against the Alps. The other two were okay, but something about that, and it might have been a Lindward artwork, I don't know. But there was something about those CR-42s and that spotty camouflage, or that beautiful blue disc with the 3 crowns and the gold rim around it against the Alps, that was just, it captured me. You know, artwork does that. And I fell in love with the CR-42. Many decades later, I heard about Bob Hoover's report. They captured one in Italy, and he got to fly it. They made a squadron hack out of it. He said it was absolutely the finest flying biplane he ever flew. It was the Italians. They make sports cars. They make sporty airplanes. Their G50, their Mach-E C200, C202. Yeah, they were undergunned, but by God, even Eric Brown, okay, the famous British, they call him the British Chuck Yeager. Brown flew some of their airplanes. He said, see that G50? It was the G50, the G55. He goes, because it had the German engine, the Daimler Benz, and he goes, it was the best of German engineering with the best of Italian styling. It was like wearing a pair of Italian leather gloves. And he said the airplane was an absolute joy to fly. Okay? I wouldn't want to take one into combat because they were undergunned and I don't think they had self-sealing fuel tanks. But just to go up and fly, well, the CR-42 was the same thing. Bob Hoover said the airplane was an absolute joy to go up and do aerobatics, and magnificent little airplane. And between that and the artwork, so
I think it was called a Falco.
yeah, that's a C202.
Yeah, that was supposed to be a really nice.
It could actually supposedly could outturn a Mustang. Now, the reason I brought up the CR-42 was there were a few times when the Italians used CR-42s on missions in the Battle of Britain. Okay? So the British learned we got to shoot down the biplanes. Well, it just so happens the British have a similar looking biplane called the Gloucester Gladiator. So the Gladiator pilots had to be careful not to get their butt shot down by trigger-happy Hurricane and Spitfire pilots who thought they might be Italian fighters. And there was, I think, Showtime 112, great little website. If you haven't checked it out, you'll enjoy it if you like aircraft. Apparently the CR-42s went up against the Gladiators, Italian biplanes against British biplanes, in a dogfight. And the Italians equated themselves quite well. They were actually a little more maneuverable than the Gloucester Gladiator, which was a maneuverable airplane. And they were of the same, both open cockpit fixed gear biplanes. I'm like, we think of World War II, we think, Messerschmitts, Mustangs, and Spitfires, but they weren't they were still flying open cockpit airplanes out there. But anyway, that's the end of that digression. The C-205 was the Veltro. I'm sorry.
If
What,
their planes are as good as their cars, I wouldn't want to be flying one.
I'm sorry. I said Swedish. It was, wait, which one has the crowns on the side? Sweden has the crowns, the blue circle with the 3 crowns. That's Sweden. If I said Swiss, I'm mistaken. It was, I said the Alps. It was mountains. It was snow-covered mountains. I'm an American. I don't know anything about European geography.
They got snow-covered mountains everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. They look like in my 10-year-old brain and my 64-year-old brain, they were the Alps. They were beautiful mountains, snow-covered mountains. If they weren't the Alps, and so you got the Italian Alps. You got wait a minute. You got the Swiss Alps. Oh, but we were up in Sweden. Yeah, they weren't the Alps, guys.
They weren't the Alps.
Yeah, the Gladiator did have a sliding canopy, so you just had to freeze the top of your head off.
Airplanes, you're an absolute master of. Geography, not so much.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, the Swedes flew the CR-42s. Yep. I'm getting correct. Swedes, Slobovia. Okay. North Slobovia.
What geography asks?
Is North Slobovia next to Albonia? But anyway. Or is it next to...
Albonia? This isn't a fish.
You want geography?
Are you sure that's north of Lost Partsistan, right?
Exactly. Same hemisphere.
Where Eagles Dare was actually where Doubles Dare because was because Burton. Oh, and Where Eagles Dare, I heard that Burton was so on the sauce that he was so physically weak he couldn't do the climbing scenes, so they hoisted him up and had to erase the ropes in post production. Yes, you're right. I'm sorry, Paul. That's. I get carried away, you know. I get in the moment, and you know, the truth is not. It's like a Tarantino film. The truth is not as good as my fiction. I mean, let's face it. The Tarantino verse is better than the universe we live in. Hitler gets machine gunned by Eli Roth. Was it Eli? Who? It was Eli Roth. And Sharon Stone survives. You know, so I like the Tarantino verse better than our own. And if you guys haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, do. God, that was. My mom had a car almost identical to the one they were driving, and she had the Calais. It was a 67 or 68, and I'm like, oh, look at Mom's car, you know, and just the car. I swear to God, I watch these movies just to see the cars. When was the last time you saw a real Volkswagen, a Kifa, you know? And she goes in the theater, I'm like, my God, that reminds me of the theater in my hometown when they actually had a lobby and everything with all the nice stuff in it.
That movie was hysterical.
I love that movie. Contact, Jack, not in front of the Mexicans. Yeah.
The end was fantastic.
I love it. Oh, this thing's really hot. Is something you can do about that, Hattie? It's a flamethrower, Jack.
I want to have his dog.
Oh my God, the best. His dog is the star of that movie. Yeah, you know, God. They said he was a war hero. They didn't say which war. Given when that took place, it could have been Korea or World War II. The fan favorite is that he was a World War II hero. And I love the bit with the whole Bruce Lee bit. That was so well done.
Oh, that was just
The look on his face, oh yeah, supposedly he killed his wife. You see the look on Bruce Lee's face get serious all of a sudden. I could fight Muhammad Ali. Yeah, the way the whole thing escalated. Kurt Russell was perfect.
Yes, he was.
My ice is fighting back.
I was wondering what you were doing.
I'm trying to get the straw in here, but the ice is frozen to one blob, and it can only go in that one little spot right there. I'm out of water. God, I'm having so much fun. I don't want to stop, but it's almost 9 o'clock.
Yep, getting close. We got another 9 minutes. Besides, when did 9 o'clock become the official cutoff?
The witching hour.
Well, Darren Nesbitt, maybe I have wears SS uniform in his hotel and walk together tonight, poured an anxiety attack. Okay. William, since you brought that up, we got 8 minutes left. I saw that interview. Guys, you've probably all seen Where Eagles Dare. Darren Nesbitt is the British Jewish actor who played Major Von Happen. Oh, God. How many... I've got like three tangents that are asking for my attention right now. First off, Nesbitt did not want to stay in the hotel that all the actors are staying in. He didn't like it. He said, if you'll just give me the money, I'll go get my own place. So he found his own little hotel, nice little place. He brought up to the director, he goes, you know, you've got me in this black SS uniform, but at this point in the war, those were only worn by auxiliaries. An SS major would be wearing the gray-green uniform with the lightning bolt, you know. And he goes, I know, but we wanted the black uniform, blah, 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 audience, identification, yada, yada, yada. Okay, fine, whatever. You know, it's your movie. I'm just here. I just want to point that. Apparently Nesbitt is quite the buff on this stuff. He's very well versed on it. Anyway, so he goes to the hotel, and he's still wearing his SS uniform from the studio, which is apparently he was careful. He made sure to get up the ribbons right and everything. And he goes in there, and the porter, like he said, just about had a stroke. He explains to him we're shooting a movie, da-da-da. Now, there's more to that story. Or as our good friend Mike Mashat would say, but there's more. You know what? I'm going to make me large and you guys small because this merits that.
Oh.
Max, is going to tell a story.
When did that ever happen?
Never ever said never. Okay, so Let me just unpin that. Pin. Okay.
Because
So-
it's his show. That's why.
So, the porter tells him, you know, and I'm of German extraction, so I get away with this, not cultural appropriation. Ha 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 ha. He goes, you'll know Herr Hesbit. The night security guard. Was in the SS? Would you like to meet him? Nesbitt did not tell anybody that he was Jewish, okay? He's like, why, yes. When could I meet him? So they arranged it when the guy came to work. They told him about this guy's playing an SS officer and everything. And the guy, would you like to meet him? He wants to, and the guy says, yeah, I will meet him. And Nesbitt they have a little meeting. He asks him about, the SS. And he goes, and the old man just goes, could I see you in your uniform? And don't worry, this isn't going to get kinky, although it did seem to be going down that trajectory. But this is your little value-added bit for Max's Models live stream. So, he goes behind and puts on he comes out. He goes, I come out in that black SS uniform and snap to attention. And the old man just goes, this is good. And he's like, oh dear God. But he's like, and he goes, could I fix your uniform? He goes, really? He goes, some of the awards are wrong. And this
What's
guy,
that?
some of the
What was that?
awards were wrong.
Oh, the awards.
So he
Okay.
fixes the uniform and gets everything correct on it so the uniform is technically correct. And then he goes, well, thank you very much. Da, da, da. And he goes, would you like to see my medals?
Here we go.
Sure. So the next night, the guy comes in and he brings out all these authentic SS medals that he had that he managed to hide from the Americans and explains what everything was and what he did and just the whole story. And the whole time Nesbitt, who, in case you forgot, is Jewish, was just simply, yeah, this is good. Not good, thank you. You go up and look at Darren Nesbitt interview about making that. It's just classic, And you got to remember this movie was made only 20 years after the war, so a lot of these guys are still running around. But I was just, but there's more.
More.
You know the famous scene where Clint Eastwood shoots him and the blood runs down from under the peak cap, right? They had, I think it was 3 uniforms for him. And he had them all fixed so they were correct. They had all the identical medals and everything because they knew they may have to do retakes. Well, they kept having problems when they were shooting the scene. So the last time they did it, apparently the squib was a little too big. And when it went pop, he goes, you will notice as soon as my character gets shot and the blood starts to trickle, the camera cuts. That's because Nesbitt got burned by the squib, and he was actually injured. Now, he had changed his coat and his shirt for every take, but he left the same squib fake blood-soaked trousers on because you couldn't see him. When he got burned, where he got hurt, and I think he was blinded for a little while, they ran him to the hospital. They rush him to the hospital in a blood-soaked SS uniform. The hospital staff freaked. They're stripping him, looking for bullet holes and everything. He's, no, it's up here in my face. No, we look for the bullet holes. Why are you bleeding? That's all fake. It was pandemonium. Go listen to him tell the story. I mean, you just can't make that stuff up. And if you can make that stuff up, you make up good stuff. So, there is your unexpected bit of trivia from Captain Tangent on the job, ready for service. Well, guys, that's the wrap for the night. Here we are at 8:58, so I'll let everybody say nighty nights and all that other good stuff, and
What's wrong?
I'm just looking for something here. You guys have anything you want to bring up before we go?
Nope.
Nothing
That-
comes to mind.
That was it. I was looking for this is the after show. I should have popped that up before I told that story. Okay. Well then, guys, I'll let you say your nighty nights, and we'll let all the nice people go.
Well, guys, thank you once again for spending time with us on a Saturday night, proving that you don't have anything else to do. And
Or a life.
yeah, or life.
Wait a minute.
Thank you.
This is our life.
Oh God, I have sharp things near me. Don't say that. And so thanks for coming, and we look forward to seeing you guys again next week.
Thanks for coming,
Yeah.
guys. What?
Ken?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, okay. Thanks for coming, guys.
I'm
I
sorry.
was late.
Shemp.
Shit. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
Curly?
No, we're not doing that.
We're not
we're not.
doing it. Okay.
No, we're not doing that. No. You can do that.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, guys. Yeah, it's true we have no life, but makes it more interesting.
And that's coming from Ken.
Me, personally, I'd rather be on my boat, but hey, I'd make do with what I got.
Don't we
Thanks
all,
for
my
coming.
brother?
That pretty much sums it up for all of us, Ken.
Thanks for coming, guys. We'll see you again next week.
Guys, thanks for coming out. Tomorrow I hope to make some progress on the York Peppermint Patty. I think that's what we're going to call that model, is Peppermint Patty, because it's a Avro York. Take care of yourselves. I'll talk to you later. As always, model on.
Like I said, easy, skill level 2. Now my whole weekend belongs to you. Tiny plastic cockpit, some crooked little wing. Instructions in hieroglyphs, Mrs. Ruby 16. I got glue on my fingers, rage in my heart. This copy kit model's falling apart. Left wing's backwards, right one's gone. Tail's upside down, landing gears all wrong. I shake the box like it's gonna confess. Come on, glue on my fingers, and a big old mess. Diesel's curling like wheat go toast. Pilot's helmet looks like a ghost. Drop-in test, too late for that. Now the fuselage leans like a tipsy cat. I got glue on my fingers, rage in my heart. This crappy kid model's falling apart. Pride won't spin, nose won't stay. I swear this thing flew back in the day. I sin, I curse, I fake progress. Glue on my fingers, and a big old mess. Step 12 says attach the part. Which part is part? I ain't that smart. Diagram looks like modern art. I'm losing my cool. I'm losing my. Three spare wheels, but I need just 2. Got 7 clear canopies, none of them glow. I got glue on my fingers, rage in my soul. This tiny trash tornado's out of control. Box art shows a beauty, sleek and clean. Mine looks like it fell from 20,000 feet. I'll call it brother, call it battle stress. Glue on my fingers, and I guess it's finished at best. He said, so anyway, the thing is that he's 3 stories deep in high school band. You ask him how his weekend went, he's explaining ancient Roman ceiling fans. One sip of coffee, suddenly we're ranking every kind of cheese. We just wanted movie times, now we're somewhere in the 90s on TV. Captain Tangent, off again, started with the weather, now we're talking about space pens. Captain Tangent, spin that thread, we were on the freeway, now we're in his cousin's shed. He goes left, he goes right, he forgets what started this ride. Captain Tangent, that's our friend, circle to the middle, never finds the end. You say, can you pass a song? He's like, song, that's wild, cause I once knew a guy named Hal. Next thing, it's a road trip tale. Flat tire, first crush, roadside motel. He's drawing diagrams on a napkin just to prove a tiny point. By the time he finally lands, we forgot why we even joined. Captain Tangent, off again, started with a question, now we're rating every band's best spin. Captain Tangent, spin that thread, we were in the kitchen, now we're somewhere by a surf shed. He goes left, he goes right, he zigzags through his own mind. Captain Tangent, that's our friend, circle to the middle, never finds the end. But when you're stuck in your same old day, he can talk you miles away. From a text gone wrong to a song to a snack, you forget what hurt, you forget looking back. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Captain Tangent, off again, started with you, okay, now we're laughing about old trends. Captain Tangent, spin that thread, we were feeling heavy, now we're light as jokes, he said. He goes left, he goes right, brains like fireworks at night. Captain Tangent, that's our friend, hope he never, ever finds where the story ends. Oh, glue on my fingers, paint on my shirt. I'm so hungry that my tummy hurts. But now it's time for me to go. It's time for hot dogs and my favorite show. Hot dogs and murder, but my life's on a roll. Stopping my hobby for a sausage-shaped goal. Watching and eating with every scene. This quirky routine is my daily cuisine. Painting the wings, they'll have to wait. The show is beginning and I can't be late. With paradise gracing my hot dog bun. Who knew robots and hot dogs were so much fun? Hot dogs and murder, but my life's on a roll. Stopping my hobby for a sausage-shaped goal. Watching and eating with every scene. This quirky routine is my daily cuisine. It's not about perfection, it's about a good meal. My life is so good, I can't believe it's real. Planes will still fly and glue will still dry. But murder, bot, and hot dogs keep my spirit sky high. So here I am, remote in one hand, hot dog in the other, it's my master plan. Model airplanes are fun for sure, but murder, bots, and hot dogs, who could ask for more? He's got glue on his hands and a spark in his brain. Tiny cars, tiny jets, tiny military planes. From tanks to trains to rockets that soar.